Last year, Herbert Diess sold more electric cars of all types than anyone.
Long term, we have to go probably at even higher speed to renewables, to wind and solar energy.
And he says, to electric cars.
We will get into the battery business. We will build more plants in America because it's a core necessity.
You're a car company. You're a battery company.
You're a battery company, you're a software company.
Climate change is happening. And to decarbonize the automotive sector, the only feasible way forward is electrification.
You're going to have to change the engine, the transmission, even the design. And they say old dogs don't learn new tricks.
The competition is coming. VW is about to axe 60% of their combustion engine cars by 2030 to focus on quality. So, is Tesla going bankrupt because of this? Let's find out in this video. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tesla Fix. I'm your host, Jan, and I'm giving you a unique German perspective on Tesla. So VW announced last week that they want to focus on quality over quantity with their brands like Audi, Porsche, and Bentley. Oh, and higher margins as well, of course. When I read that, I was thinking, where did I read that before? I can remember something vague. It was very long ago. Yeah, right. Elon Musk talked about that 2006 in a secret master plan. That's 16 years ago. Okay, let's look at the master plan from 2006, and I have to read you something. Almost any new technology initially has a high unit cost before it can be optimized, and this is no less true for electric cars. The strategy of Tesla is to enter at the high end of the market where customers are prepared to pay a premium. Higher margins, huh? And then drive down the market as fast as possible to higher unit volume and lower prices with each successive model. Wow, that's pretty harsh to read right now because that sounds similar like the strategy that VW is about to do. I mean, this is crazy. Yes, they produce electric vehicles. Yes, they produce plug-in hybrids. But if they say they want to focus on margins, that rings a bell with me because they want to build factories with higher margins for their top brands that have more margins, and then they want to sell those EVs. And then with that, they want to drive the cost down to build cheaper or more affordable EVs that can compete. So the same strategy that Elon Musk was proposing in a secret master plan I can't even talk anymore. 2006. Wow. Anyway, the Volkswagen Group, so not just the VW core brand, is signaling a push into the low volume production and higher margin space by boosting the quality of its products, like they said. So in this process, they want to focus on significantly fewer models by discontinuing a whopping like 60% of combustion engine vehicles within the next 8 years. And by going down this road, the VW Group will likely abandon the race for the biggest car manufacturer by volume, which is crazy for VW because they were the mass production kings together with Toyota, and they always competed against each other. All while Tesla is ramping up to massive scale. With Tesla's Austin factory and Tesla's Giga Berlin factory, it is expected to double Tesla's production rate by 2 million vehicles per year, which will probably be more because of Elon's strategy of under-promise and over-deliver. Lars from Best in Tesla made a great video about that titled Tesla Plus. You have to check it out, really. It's really great to explain that topic. But don't take my word for it. Let's just listen to Elon, what he had to say at Cyber Rodeo.
I've said it before, but the factory is the product. We're aiming just with the Model Y program alone to get to 500,000 units a year, and then we're going to start manufacturing Cybertruck here next year. The Model Y line will be the highest capacity line, I think, of any line in the world. In fact, I'm confident it will be. 500,000 units a year in a single factory of one product is the biggest of anything in the world. This will be the highest volume car factory in America. Relative to production, prototypes are easy. Production is hard. And this building is the most advanced car factory that Earth has ever seen.
when I was following the discussions from my last videos, I really realized that I have to point something out that is very important. What you really have to keep in mind is that Tesla competes in the general auto market all around the world, including ICE vehicles. That's why those numbers are important too. And I sometimes feel like we always comparing the EV market just because that was the first important step for Tesla to compete in. And we all know that Tesla is ramping up steep and it surpasses all the other car brands more and more. And that's very important. But now they have to compete with the internal combustion engines also. And that's very important. So if you look at the global sales numbers, the VW Group sold in 2021 9.3 million units, while Toyota shipped around 10.5 million vehicles in total. If we're talking strictly about Europe, the VW Group, which includes the brands Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, Skoda, Seat, Cupra, Audi, Lamborghini, Bentley, Porsche, they came out first with around 3.1 million vehicles ahead of Stellantis, which is the parent company of the brands Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Citroën, Dodge, little joke right here, DS, Fiat, Fiat Professional, Jeep, Lancia, Maserati, Mopar, Opel, Peugeot, Ram, Vauxhall, and they came out second with 3 million units. So VW sold 3.1 million vehicles and Stellantis sold 3 million vehicles. Because they focus on quality over quantity, they are changing their modularen E-Antriebsbaukasten, their EV platform or their skateboard, you could say. There were news from the Volkswagen headquarters in Wolfsburg recently, which stated that the company wants to increase the range of its cars based on the MEB platform that I told you about right now to 435 miles WLTP range and to boost their charging speed from 125 kilowatt hours to 200 kilowatt hours. In a separate announcement, it also said that customers in Germany now can lease the ID.4 and the ID.5 online with their own personal specifications, and they also hinted that this capability would be expanded to the ID.3 soon also. Wow, I think we all know what role model they had when they were conceptualizing their website to add an order page. And Tesla did that like with the first cars they produced. They had an online shop where you could order your Tesla, which is crazy. With the Model S, I think they started. And at the superchargers, you can pull like 250 kilowatt hours into your Model Y in comparison to the 200 kilowatt hours that they are focusing on right now at VW. And when the 4680 batteries keep getting added to the whole fleet, then range will increase significantly. I'm sure about that. That's inevitable that something like that will happen. You can already see that Tesla builds its Model Ys at Giga Texas with the 4680s with less batteries in the pack. That's important because they just use less batteries not to get an Osborne effect with their other battery technologies of the other factories, because they want to sell the different Model Ys also. So that's why they have to use less battery packs. So my guess is that Tesla will specialize in 4680 batteries for their whole fleet, also for their entry-level vehicles, like we saw for the Model Y all-wheel drive that was pumping out from Giga Texas. And I think that because you have to remember that the 4680 battery is used as a structural component of the centerpiece. This simplifies production significantly because they're just using 3 main components: the front casting and the rear casting from the Giga presses, and the structural battery pack is the 3rd component. And this saves a lot of time. But you have to remember that Tesla already produces their Model 3 in the factories in just 10 hours, which is really crazy. It's 3 times less than the ID.3 from VW is produced right now. That's why they want to build the new factory in Wolfsburg until 2026, all while focusing on quality and not scale. Ouch. Yeah, that's not going to go well, I think.
They just opened a new battery facility in Chattanooga. They don't make the battery cells yet. A Korean supplier does that. For now, Volkswagen just arranges them to fit in their cars.
Mercedes CTO Markus Schäfer just exposed how far German auto is lagging behind in EV production in an interview with Road and Track. Let's read a little bit. In his opinion, price parity between EVs and combustion engines would only be reached at $50 per kilowatt. He states that we are still miles away from that, and with the current cell chemistry, this value would not be achievable either. Affordable batteries with high energy density, which would be necessary to achieve price parity, do not currently exist or are only in the development stage. Even if they were marketable, it would take years for them to arrive, and the automotive industry, with its high volumes and extremely high durability requirements, as long as you have to wait for this breakthrough in battery technology, nobody can promise that electric cars will become cheaper in the near future. He also stated everything would depend on the mining capacity for the raw materials and the global development of electric mobility. Strong headwinds would continue to blow, especially from the raw materials side. Analysts also assume that the lithium shortage will not be solved before the middle of the decade. Hello, 4680s. Being mass produced at Giga Texas. I mean, German auto does that all the time. They always say, we can't mass produce. We're so reliant on third-party suppliers. They won't go down the supply chain like Tesla does. And this really grinds my gears, really, because they don't realize with those resources shortages that we are dealing with, you have to go down the supply chain, and they won't do it. I know they operate differently, but this is a point where they could lose all of their market share. Eventually, it's really a deal breaker here, especially by those price hikes of the materials for the battery production. And with the 4680s, they could reach a price of around $60 per kilowatt. But that depends on the lithium price as well. And Tesla talked about going into the mining business even at Battery Day. Remember that? When was that? Let me look. Oh, it was September of 2020. Can you imagine that? They already talked about mining back then. I mean, the lithium shortage just started, but they could see that lithium prices will hike someday. But that's not the only factor that German auto starts to blame for not ramping up their production. The German government aims to scrap hybrid car aid earlier than planned. And the plug-in hybrids were really the last straw German auto could latch onto with their internal combustion engines. Let's just build 2 engines into this car and call it a day. Wow, a great idea. And the government also plans to lower the cash bonuses for EVs itself. The VDA, which is a German car lobby, says that this move jeopardizes electric vehicle ramp up. Yeah, okay, so that's the reason. Okay, I get it now. If ramping up EV production isn't complicated enough, the transition to EVs is super hard for the manufacturers of the Ice Age. The automakers who still rely heavily on cars running on dinosaur juice even have to develop new business models, for example. That's because the margins of the mass-produced cars from legacy auto is razor thin, especially from VW. They earn money with their service centers, for example. So the service center economy is a huge deal for legacy automakers. And that's something they just rip away if they are going into EVs. That's why they are so hesitant stepping in. But they have to step in because Tesla will eventually grab every market share, bits and piece they have until 2020-30. And the significant difference between electric vehicles and ICE vehicles is the number of moving parts. And all of the R&D and all of the patents are in the moving parts of the internal combustion engines from the legacy automakers. Of course, they have patents in electric powertrains and stuff like that, but the main focus all those years was the R&D of internal combustion engines. The electric vehicle has just one moving part, which is the motor, but whereas the gasoline-powered vehicle has hundreds of moving parts, and fewer moving parts in the EVs lead to another huge advantage for EVs, which are they require less periodic maintenance, for example. And the gasoline-powered cars require a wide range of maintenance. We all know that. For example, oil changes, filter replacements, periodic tune-ups, and exhaust system repairs, to the less frequent replacements such as the water pump, the fuel pump, or the alternator, for example. And Tesla's additional margins, beside their efficient production, lays in their full self-driving software, for example. And soon, in their insurance model, which on its own could really be worth trillions of dollars. And Tesla really takes control of every touch point of the car to ensure consistency of innovation. And they are already catching up in quality control. The last thing, German Auto had a little nudge of advantage, you could say. But I've covered that in my last video. You have to check that out immediately. Not immediately, but soon after this video. Tesla is like an equity fund to me. That's why I'm 100% in Tesla. Yeah, that's no financial advice, by the way. That's just my personal investment strategy. So in comparison to Tesla, the customer promises the German car brands make seem to crumble every day. Let's get into the taglines for 1 second. Mercedes, for example, the tagline is Mercedes, the best or nothing. They use slogans like more than a badge. Marketing material says something like Mercedes-Benz vows to be the best in every aspect of its vehicles. This includes innovation, performance, design, safety, and environment. But we all know that's not true. Tesla keeps dominating the scoreboards, for example, the safety scoreboards. The marketing material also says something like this. Innovation. Mercedes-Benz never stops developing new ways to realize the potential of the road ahead. Performance. As a brand, Mercedes-Benz unites all the facets of performance to engineer something you can't get from a spec sheet, which is probably true. Design. Mercedes-Benz combines artistry and engineering to develop vehicles that are visionary from the tip to the tail end. Safety. Mercedes-Benz continues each year to create technology that helps protect from and prevent collisions. Yeah, but they're not leading. Like we saw in the safety scores, Tesla is leading with all of their vehicles. Yeah, and then we have environment. As a company, Mercedes-Benz respects the planet and knows the impact the automotive industry has on it. For that and many other reasons, they work hard to reduce the negative impact on the environment. Yeah! Wow, that's so great. How about we go to BMW, for example, and analyze their tagline? It's just BMW, sheer driving pleasure. Or beyond rational, the ultimate driving machine. Which is already a bold statement because you can change your driving settings so precisely in your Tesla. For example, you can change if it should be an all-wheel drive or just the rear-wheel drive for drifting, for example. You can change the tension of the steering wheel, for example. You can change how the acceleration pedal functions, for example. And then you can save that in your personal profile to fit your personal preference. And that's what I call the ultimate driving machine. I mean, I know that BMW is really good at optimizing car handling, but damn, this is really cool from Tesla. And even if you use the car with many different people, they all have their own profile, which, yeah, you sit into your Tesla and then it changes automatically to your driving profile, which is insane. And that's what I call the ultimate driving machine for my personal preference. I mean, BMW really is good at optimizing car handling, but yeah, this is pretty cool. And all these features can be improved by an over-the-air update in 10 minutes, which is ridiculously crazy. And let's look at the tagline from VW for 1 second. Their tagline is deceive customers, tweak emission metrics. Oh, wait, no, that was the tagline from 2015. All German car brands did that, by the way. I just wanted to point that out because VW was in the headlines so much, but Mercedes, for example, also did that too. So Dieselgate was not only VW, it was the whole industry of Germany. But VW especially covered it up so harshly that they were to blame, more or less. But Mercedes was a little bit better off than VW. Yeah, and all of that instead of focusing on EVs. Yeah, that is 7 years ago, so we won't go into detail. The VW tagline is the car or Volkswagen. And Yeah, what does that even mean anymore? Maybe you know Tesla's mission statement is accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. And boy, they are accelerating. So can German Auto compete with Tesla? I would say it doesn't look that way, especially in mass production. I mean, right now, okay, the internal combustion engine cars, yeah, they can produce them fast. Yes, they produce 10 million vehicles a year, VW Group, for example, or Toyota, for example, also. But really, if Tesla ramps up their production with the Gigafactory, it seems that they will eat up market share very rapidly, especially if they sleep that well. And the German car brands need to understand something. They have to go down the supply chain. That's very important. Tesla still understates and is sandbagging their production rate heavily, which is also very funny. They won't produce just 2 million cars, I think. I think it will be a little bit more, a little nudge more. And based on the information I have, it seems like it could be Tesla's decade even, which is really crazy. Yeah, that's the end of the episode right now, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this topic? Because I really like the discussion that was going on in the last 2 videos I've uploaded, and I really want to hear your thoughts and ideas. Also, if you want to give me feedback, please do that. I'm really an advocate of discussion and talking to each other. You will see that in the lengthy posts I always, or my lengthy replies. That was it. That was the episode. I hope you liked it. And if you liked it, click on the like button. My name is Jan from Tesla Fix, and there's only one thing to say. Let's see us next week, and goodbye.
We are second, worldwide. It's quite ahead currently, and they're growing fast, I have to admit. It's taking more risk than we can. He is now building a plant in Berlin. It's 200 kilometers from our plant.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
it's very healthy for us.
You do?
Yes, definitely. And there always have been discussions also internally. Shouldn't we give up the US because we're losing money, we're going nowhere?
Exactly.
Now we have to come back in the US. We have to become relevant in the US, and we are on the right way.
Then just push that nozzle and pull it back.
But when I tried,
It's not easy. Okay, something's wrong. I can't do it.
Should become, there you go.
charging problems may be the least of the challenges facing Herbert Diess.
Du nimmst das Ding jetzt und klickst auf den Knopf da oben, auf den roten Kreis. So, jetzt steckst du rein und fertig. Das war's. Mehr musst du nicht machen. Alles andere nimmt sich jetzt die Ladesäule vom Auto, deine Bezahldaten.
Das habe ich mich schon so oft gefragt, warum das so ist. Weißt du, wenn ich zu so Säule hinfahre und mache so Düt und Karte raussuchen, alles, wo ich mir denke, Digga, ihr seid doch beide elektronische Brüder.
Auto
Sag ihm das doch, dass ich das bin.